people are divided into early lark and night owls. Hannah was unequivocally an owl, but life, however, molded her into a lark, forcing her to rise at dawn for school, university, and work. Her arch-nemesis was the alarm clock. It rang like a demon, the one thing she'd swat without remorse. At night, she read, thought, and worked better. In the mornings, she even lacked the energy to listen or respond to her husband. He often got angry at her inattention, while Hannah also got angry because she had asked him not to pester her in the morning. However, by the time she reached work, she'd be awake and functional. I'm lucky to have a job I love, she thought. If I had to drag myself to a job I hated every morning, I'd have no chance to be happy. Her friend Chelsea often complained, I despise my job. Hannah imagined every morning my colleagues gather, and the first thing they do is judge each other's outfits. Heaven forbid someone stands out, they'd be ostracized. Then they start whining about being overworked and try to take it out on each other. I try not to get involved, so all the work gets dumped on me. It's easier to do everyone's job than to fight with these harpies. Didn't you want to change jobs? Hannah asked. I did, but remember when I was choosing my profession? I had no desire at all. I went where my mom told me to go. Turns out finance and accounting weren't my thing. While Chelsea's mother had pushed her into her profession, Hannah had taken the path of least resistance. Medical school, technical school, and law were immediately ruled out due to high competition. The pedagogical college remained, and the faculty choice was clear. Literature was the only school subject Hannah adored. She studied with ease and interest, believing she'd made the right choice. However, after 6 months of teaching, doubts crept in. It turned out that children in large numbers irritated her. Her intention to guide students on the right path through classics fell on deaf ears. They didn't read at all. Sowing wisdom and virtue seemed futile. She was left to teach them grammar rules monotonously and prepare them for exams. One day, furious at herself for this choice and for not trying to change anything, Hannah decided to flee the school for any other opportunity. The chance came as soon as Hannah resolved to change her life. It seemed fate had been waiting behind the door, opening it the moment Hannah slammed the previous one shut. Summer began, the school year ended, and Hannah vowed to herself, I won't return to school in August. She repeated this like a mantra, building her determination. I have proper speech, good diction, and a pleasant timbre. Where could I use all this? She thought to herself. And finally, the woman decided these skills could be useful in radio. She realized quick reactions and improvisation were also necessary, but hoped these could be learned. So one day, Hannah marched into the local TV and radio company and declared, I am eager to work for you. They weren't surprised. Apparently, such aspiring stars often showed up. They took her to the studio, had her read a text, recorded it, and sat her in a corner to await the verdict. Hannah sat trembling with excitement. Reading into a microphone is terrifying. Why did I think I could do this? I've embarrassed myself. Stuttering, stumbling, they won't take me. Suddenly, a large man burst into the studio. Hannah was stunned. It was a local celebrity, TV star and journalist, Gary Wilson. Guys, I need your help. I urgently need a female voice. We're short on women. Helen's in the capital for a course. Chloe and Tina are on vacation. We need to air the program and there's no one to voice it. Ben, do you have anyone available? Gary, you're acting like a first-time groom. Couldn't you have planned ahead? My girls are all left for the seaside. Natalie's on air, and Anne won't be here for 3 hours. Ben was listening to Hannah's recording, her soft voice filling the studio. Gary was careening around the cramped room, knocking over chairs and microphones. Careful, you elephant, you'll wreck my studio. Damn, we're in a bind. Oh, by the way, who's that voice? Just recorded her. Not bad, good voice, but she's stiff. No experience at all, let me hear. Gary donned the headphones, listening. Ben, you're too critical. It's not bad at all. Where is she? She's sitting over there. Came to apply for a job. Her name's Hannah. Gary wasn't listening anymore. He yanked off the headphones and rushed to Hannah. Is radio a must? Or would TV work do too? If you don't like it, I'll send you back to radio. He grabbed the stunned Hannah by the hand, dragged her through some corridors, and planted her in a chair in the TV studio. Then he dashed off and returned with sheets of text. Read this. Then we'll look at the footage. Don't worry, it's not too difficult. and your voice clearly suits the theme." 2 days later, the program was broadcasted. Hannah watched the monitor with surprise, listening to her voice. Somehow it sounded different, changed. She knew it was hers, yet it seemed strange. "Well, Beauty, congratulations on your debut. You've done it nicely. Why don't you give up the idea with radio and stay with us? I don't have a journalism degree, that's no surprise. Half of our staff are self-taught, with no specialized education. I'm a geography teacher myself. Among the professionals here, we have 2 directors, cameramen, and a few journalists. Thank God for licensed drivers. Well, I'm going to do a short story. We'll go out, shoot it, and come back. You write your text, I'll write mine, and we'll see what happens. Let's go." And so began Hannah's career on the local TV channel. She was assigned to culture, theaters, concerts, exhibitions, and museums. Once she made a report on a photo exhibition of architectural monuments of the city from an unusual angle. The play of light and shadow transformed old buildings into sunny palaces or haunted castles. This inspired her to create a series of programs about the city's historical places. Hannah's husband, Kurt, was staunchly against his wife's work on television. "Hannah, at school you had a normal schedule, weekends and vacation, or summer. And now what? You've just started working, and you're hardly ever home. I don't like it. What do you want? Fame? A stardom on a provincial channel talking about premieres at the same provincial theater? Will they pay you extra for tickets sold? Or are you going to distribute them yourself so people can see that your advertising is useful?" Hannah usually went along with her husband. He was a smart adult who knew better. But this time she stood up for her choice. "No, I'm not going back to school. I like the editorial office. It's interesting. For once, I'm happy going to work. Is your job more important to you than your husband?" "I haven't dug that deep, but if there are ultimatums, I'll think about it." "Kurt, we've been together for 6 years. Youthful maximalism is over. It's time to compromise." Finally, Hannah's innate night owl was happy. No one forced her to sleep at night and stand with sleepy eyes in front of a pack of snide teenagers in the morning. On Friday, Chelsea called. "Hannah, are you at work? Only you can save me." "I'll be right there." It turned out that Chelsea was in trouble. She had slowed down at a crosswalk and a car crashed into her from behind. Now her car was being repaired. "Just imagine," this jerk said. "I didn't know you'd slow down." "Really? It's a crosswalk. People are walking here." Chelsea was so angry that sparks were flying from her eyes. And he was sarcastic about a woman driving like a... "You know what I mean. Who does he think he is? Well, never mind. That's not why I came." "Hannah, can you please lend me your car? I have to go to the summer cottage tomorrow. I ordered furniture and movers are coming for delivery. Besides, as I recall, your Kurt is leaving on a business trip, so you can drive his car, and I'll take you home today." "Please, please," Chelsea asked, and folded her hands in a pleading gesture. "Sure, take it," Hannah said with a smile. She couldn't refuse her best friend. Kurt was going on a business trip to investment forum. It was good to be a promising manager at an investment company. Some meetings were sometimes held in Dubai. Hannah wanted to go to Dubai too. She had flown with Kurt once, but this time he hadn't invited her. Probably the firm was in economy mode, flying without wives. Although if they were saving money, they could avoid flying altogether. However, that wasn't her concern. "Why are you flying on Saturday when the conference starts on Monday?" "Friends from my college will be there, so we decided to fly in 2 days early to meet up and socialize. We won't have time later." "Listen, why don't I call a cab?" "The flight is too early for you, dear." "No, I'll take you." "Oh, Kurt, I forgot to tell you. I'll be driving your car for a while. I let mine to Chelsea for the weekend." The couple talked some more. Hannah helped her husband pack his suitcase, and everyone went to bed. The flight was really early in the morning. The morning was as gloomy and dreary as always. Kurt was driving the car to the airport with Hannah dozing in the passenger seat. Kurt turned on the music, looking cheerful and satisfied. Where does a person get so much energy in the morning? Although, if she were flying to Dubai, she would also sparkle with joy and optimism. Hannah was puzzled. She saw Kurt off to the departure zone, kissed him, waved, took a cup of coffee from the machine, and went to the parking lot. It's sad somehow. Not because my husband is leaving, but because I'm not worried about it. Before, I would have sobbed for half a day over such a separation, And now, I'm even ashamed to admit, I'm relieved he'll be gone for at least a week. Yes, our family life has completely fallen apart, and I don't understand when it went wrong. Hannah sat in the car, drinking coffee, contemplating her life with Kurt. Suddenly, she realized, sharply and clearly, that there was no love left between them anymore. Had there ever been? Who knows? He was smart, mature, 7 years older, reliable. Hannah's mother used to say, "You can't miss such a groom. You have to take him before he's snatched from under your nose." So Hannah didn't miss him. She liked him, seemed to love him. But did she know how to love? Admiration? Hormones? Yes, it was. But was it love? She didn't know. Only now something had broken. It seemed that Chelsea, with her endless romances, was happier than a respectable, prosperous wife. Suddenly, Hannah realized she was crying. Nonsense, I'm fine. I've got a husband everyone envies. Let our family life be without sparks and outbursts, but it's reliable and proven. Those relationships with fireworks are on the edge. They flash and pass. But I have something forever without surprises. Hannah wiped her tears and drove out of the parking lot, heading to her cozy and calm home. Her longing faded away, her mood lifting sharply. Hannah sped along the highway, smiling at the jokes of the morning broadcast hosts from her local TV and radio company. Suddenly, the woman was distracted by a quiet sound, as if a phone was ringing somewhere far away. She looked. Her phone was lying next to her. "What's ringing?" She drove off the highway and stopped. The sound disappeared. She looked around, checked the back seat, opened the glove compartment. Here's the phone. It's strange that Kurt has two. Probably a work one for communicating with clients. She was about to put it away, reached for the glove compartment, when the phone rang again. Startled, her hand shook and the phone fell to the floor. Hannah fumbled under the seat, trying to find it, as it kept ringing, with Carla glowing on the screen. Should I answer it? Probably yes. I should tell her that Kurt has flown out. They can call in a week. She pressed the answer button, but didn't have time to say anything. "Kurt, are you already on the plane? Mark and I are already in Dubai. The hotel is gorgeous and the sea is clean. Mark, will you talk to Dad?" She heard some noise and a child's voice from afar. "Honey, the connection is bad. I'll send you the name of the hotel. Kisses, my love. When you land, call me." The phone went silent and Hannah sat motionless, stunned. What was that? Wrong number? No, the woman called Kurt by name and was waiting for him in Dubai. Hannah still pretended not to understand. No, it can't be. It's crazy. But through the fog in her head, a fierce and firm conviction was growing. You've got it right. Carla is Kurt's mistress, and he has a child with her. Not a casual relationship, but a long-term, one could say, family relationship. How can it be? Years of lies and pretense. Hannah's thoughts weren't forming clearly in her head yet. Everything was too sudden. She imagined returning to an empty apartment. She wouldn't be able to work there. Her mind wasn't on that. She would wander around the rooms, eating herself up and conjuring scenarios, each scarier than the last. No, she shouldn't stay home alone now. There was no point in going to the editorial office. It was a day off, empty, and there were no close friends there to whom she could pour out her heart. Chelsea was her only friend, the one to whom all troubles and misfortunes, snot and tears could go. "Chelsea, are you at the cottage?" "Yes, I'm on my way." Chelsea didn't even ask why. If Hannah, early in the morning, suddenly decided to come to the summer house, then something had happened. Judging by her voice, her soul needed healing, and she needed a shoulder to cry on. She always speaks about work with excitement, so it's personal. That's what's weird. Hannah has an exemplary husband, picture perfect and on the honor roll. To my eyes, he's boring and tedious, but he suits Hannah. It's always amazed me that they've never had a single quarrel in 6 years. Everything they had was dignified and intelligent. Maybe that was it. If they had yelled at each other once, allowed themselves a couple of harsh words, smashed a few plates, it might have been easier. No, nothing could have happened between Hannah and Kurt. It was too unbelievable. Well, what's the use in speculating? She'll come and tell me. When Hannah arrived, Chelsea dragged her friend to the veranda, sat her down on the sofa, and fussed over her like she was dying. Hannah took a devastated look, as if she had seen something, but didn't understand what it was. What's wrong with her? Did aliens come and take her Kurt away? It's no big deal. They'll see that the object is of no interest and return him. Chelsea thought to herself. Chelsea, stop jumping around. Sit down. Kurt has a second family, Hannah finally said. Chelsea plopped down on the chair. Now she had a face as if she'd seen an alien. How's that? It's beyond the realm of possibility. Hannah, what do you mean? Did you dream this? I heard his Carla, Hannah said, and told everything that had happened that morning. Do you think I misunderstood? Hey, wake up, say something. What the hell? How old did you say the boy is by his voice? About 4 years old? Do you know what that means? If the boy had been 7 or more, okay, things happen in life. First love, a child, but he didn't marry. Then he met you, married you, and started a family with you. But it wasn't like this. All those years you shared him with Carla. What an abomination. What a sensitive and caring man. Not a word or a deed, just to avoid upsetting you. I wonder if Carla's not upset either. Doesn't she know about you? Or does he only keep you safe from news about his second family? He must love you more. Chelsea was full of sarcasm. Chelsea, with her intolerance for lies and inability to pretend, would have torn Kurt apart. She'd call him right now and, without mincing words, tell him exactly what she thought of him. But that's Chelsea. She doesn't keep men for long. To her, even a hint of insincerity is a mortal sin, a reason for breaking up. Chelsea couldn't predict what Hannah would do. Hannah had lived so many years with one man and considered family the main value in life. Hannah cried silently, her face frozen, tears streaming down her cheeks. It wasn't anger or despair, but hurt and disappointment. All these years, she had been proud of a family that didn't exist and loved a husband who wasn't truly hers. Why did he do this to me? I'd understand if he fell in love, struggled, suffered, and left, but to be so sneaky and cold-blooded for years, what are you gonna do? I'll get a divorce. Oh, thank God. I was worried you'd start talking about family values, years lived in love, forgiveness, and repentance. Divorce is the right decision. It's not scary. It's scary to live and wonder who he's with now. Oh, damn, he's like a sultan with a harem. Hannah, life for you and me is like a striped zebra, sometimes lucky, sometimes not, said Chelsea with a dreaming smile. I think this zebra is going to trample me. It's not strong enough. It'll break its hooves. You think you're going through a rough patch, your family life in ruins, darkness ahead, but I think you're on a lucky streak. New job, bigger missed husband, will be kicked to the curb. Let's celebrate. Maybe you're right. I've been living, thinking how lucky I am, what a wonderful husband I had. Someone's love might be brighter, but my happiness is stronger. It turned out that I was driving along the black line, not across. When it's black and white, but along with the stubbornness of a donkey, I'm getting a divorce. You know what it takes to be happy? Living with someone who appreciates you. And if your husband isn't that person, divorce him without regret and get a lover. You've almost done the first part. The second is left. You're lucky to have a friend who's good at that. By evening, the village was filled with the tantalizing aromas of roasted meat and smoked fish. Saturday evening at the village is a special, sacred time. People stop digging, weeding, and building, and with a sense of accomplished duty, set tables on verandas, in arbors, or right in the garden under apple and pear trees. The gatherings turn out to be diverse and unpredictable. Some come with friends, some have relatives staying at their summer houses instead of the owners. It doesn't matter. As Hannah was falling asleep, she thought, should I call Kurt? Answer the phone. If I answer, I'll have to explain myself over the phone. I don't want that. When he arrives, then we'll talk. She mentally rehearsed what she would say, but kept getting nonsense. She couldn't imagine how to talk about such things. For some reason, she felt ashamed, as if it were her fault that her family was falling apart. She was angry that she couldn't find the words to tell her husband about his own deceit. Hannah was awakened by the sun, its rays beating directly on her pillow. Hannah got up, stretched, feeling good and calm at heart. She went out onto the veranda and saw Chelsea talking on the phone. Awake? My neighbor and I are going to the river. Will you come? No, I'll have breakfast and go home. I have to work tomorrow. All right, dear. Luckily for you, you have to go to your loved work, while I have to go to a week's hard labor. Hannah, call me please. Tell me what's going on. I'm worried. I'll return your car tomorrow. All the week, Hannah was worried. Twitchy, couldn't work quietly, and almost didn't sleep. The decision wasn't spontaneous but thought out. yet her soul felt scratched by a cat. It's not easy to break an established, quite comfortable life. Will it be possible to build a new one? Kurt called several times. Hannah didn't pick up the phone. She had no idea what to say to him. As if the week weren't bad enough, work was scarce. The city was hosting an international forum, so there was a lot of filming. It was impossible to get into the operator's schedule. Gary persuaded. Hannah, your cultural and historical performances can wait a little. Once this fuss is over, let's return to eternal values. I'll give you 2 cameramen, I give you my word. Meanwhile, be idle a little. So to avoid idleness, Hannah decided to look at a few old buildings, in case ideas would appear. In the old part of the city on the outskirts, on the steep bank of the river, stood the very old manor. It was abandoned, slowly crumbling. When Hannah arrived, she realized why the building wasn't even listed as an architectural monument. There was no monument left, no floor, no ceiling, crumbled stairs, and dilapidated walls. The place was beautiful. High bank, river, forest behind the river, quiet and away from the city, smelling of honey herbs. Hannah had seen the city's development plan. Soon there would be cottages here, and no old walls would remain, as if no one had ever lived here. Suddenly, in the complete silence, Hannah heard a sound. It wasn't clear about the nature of the sound, but she wasn't alone here. Is it a dog whimpering? She listened and went toward the sound. No, not a dog. It sounds like crying. At the far end of the building, where some catacombs began, the crying grew louder. Hannah couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Who's here? Where are you? A strangled scream came from somewhere below. Hannah cautiously walked on the rotten boards piled on the ground. In one place, the boards were broken, revealing a hole 2 meters deep. Hannah lay down on the boards and crawled over. At the bottom of the hole sat a boy of about 7 or 8 years old. Hey, can you get up? No, I must have broken my leg. Hannah remembered seeing a makeshift ladder at the entrance, a board with crossbars. I'll be right back. She dragged the ladder, put it in the hole, and climbed down. The boy was filthy, frightened, and in pain. He looked at Hannah with pleading eyes. Cling to my neck tightly. Ready? Come on. Hannah climbed up, clinging to the rungs. Splinters dug into her palms, and she prayed that the old rotten ladder wouldn't fall apart. She crawled out of the hole, put the boy on the boards, and collapsed beside him, needing to catch her breath. My cell phone's here somewhere. It flew off when I fell. I have to call my dad. Hannah looked around. Yes, here it is. She retrieved the phone. Let's get to the car and call him there. Can you walk? He couldn't walk well. His leg was really hurting. They got to the car and called the boy's father. Dylan, where are you? My name is Hannah, and I'm taking your son to traumatology. Don't be alarmed. He's probably had a cracked bone or a closed fracture. Meet us at the emergency room. At the hospital, they took an x-ray and said it wasn't serious, a non-displaced fracture. They took the boy away to put a cast on it. Hannah sat in the corridor when a man down the corridor. Are you the one who found Dylan? Yes, it's me. Sit down, please. They're putting a cast on him. Wait a little while. Since you're his father, there's no need for me to be here, so I have to go. Where did you find him? At the old manor near the river. Where's that? What was he doing there? Ask him, and also ask yourself, why do you leave your child alone? He was climbing through ruins. Something worse could have happened there. Roger was in the office when Dylan's nanny Vera called in hysterics, screaming that Dylan was missing. They had been walking in the park when the boy suddenly disappeared. Vera ran around calling for him, but he was nowhere to be found. Roger drove to all the places his son might be, but couldn't find him. When Hannah called, he was writing a statement for the police. At this moment, Dylan was brought out of the treatment room with a plastered leg. Roger rushed to his son, grabbed him in his arms, and held him tightly. Dylan sobbed. Daddy, don't scold Vera. It's my fault. I ran away deliberately, unnoticed. I thought I'd see the old house and come back. It wasn't Vera's fault. I know it's not her fault. She's lying at home with high blood pressure now. The doctors are giving her injections. Your broken leg is punishment enough for your exploits. Wait a minute. He put Dylan on the table and hurried after Hannah, who was leaving. Wait, I'm sorry. I didn't even thank you. It was so hectic. I'm Roger. Here's my business card. I'll be glad to help you someday. Please give me your cell phone number. Don't think I'm... After today's adventures, I can't think at all. My name is Hannah, but I won't give you my phone number. There is no need. Have a lovely day. Get well and take care of your son better." Tired and dirty, Hannah drove home, only now feeling afraid. What if I hadn't gone to the manor? What would have happened to the boy? It's in the middle of nowhere. I don't think anyone else would have wandered in. He's a good boy, so eager to protect his nanny, and the father is probably not a bad man. At least he loves his son. The week flew by. Today, Kurt was coming back. Hannah was ready to meet and talk, but her hands were shaking with excitement. She paced around the apartment, moving things from place to place. She even knocked over a vase of flowers and dropped a cup of coffee. She couldn't calm down. What if he doesn't come? It would be nice if he didn't. If he disappeared forever, then I'd have no one to explain to. But the key turned in the door. Hannah shuddered as a wave of rage suddenly swept over her. A week of pent-up emotions now covering her. "Oh, you scoundrel, you showed up," she sighed deeply. "Calm down, Hannah. No shouting. Kurt doesn't need to know what's going on in your soul." Kurt came in smiling, with an angelic smile, tired but happy to be home, as he was always after business trips. Only now, Hannah looked at him with different eyes. His look seemed insincere. His smile wasn't genuine. The man came over and hugged his wife, demonstrating his joy at being home. "Hannah, I missed you so much, but I didn't miss you. I was wondering how much longer you're going to hang around like this. I was wondering when you decide which shore to dock at." Kurt froze. "Well, let's not drag out the suspense. I know about Carla and Mark. Why have you kept silent for so many years? I didn't know how to tell you. Are you kidding? So saying the truth is a problem. But living with two families is not a problem at all. Strange logic. Well, did you hope I'd never find out? I didn't think it would turn out this way." "How? That you'd cheat from the day we got married? That two families would live in parallel? Or what did you think I wouldn't find out?" "Of course you didn't think. You don't know how to think or feel. There's no other way to explain your life. Don't overreact. I love you." "What good is that kind of love to me? Do you love Carla too?" "You know what? You're a terrible husband and a lousy lover, Kurt. I'm divorcing you. I don't care who you live with or where." Kurt paced around the room, clearly not having considered this outcome. "What? Divorce? I don't want a divorce. Okay, you found out. You're upset. But why divorce? Hannah, don't 6 years of marriage count for anything? We lived well. Everything suited you. If you hadn't found out by chance, we would have kept living like that. You're not a stupid woman. Why break everything?" "I'm not going back to Carla. Let everything stay as it is." "Carla doesn't insist." "I don't care about your Carla. I insist. When are you coming to get your things? I'll file for divorce myself. I think they'll grant it quickly. There's nothing to divide, no children." Kurt wanted to say something, but didn't dare. His wife's look was too fierce. He left, and Hannah was shaken again. The tension finally released. Everything was sad, with nothing more to wait for. She felt no sorrow for her past love. It had evaporated instantly from disgust. Her heart felt only sadness and bewilderment. The next day, the international event was over, and Gary fulfilled his promise. Hannah had 2 camera operators, filmed a lot of material, and spent all day in the editing room, watching, selecting, and culling. She got terribly tired and decided not to work on the weekend, even at home. She often thought of poor Dylan. How's his leg? Wouldn't it be appropriate to call Roger and ask about his son's health? She twirled a business card in her hands. Wow, a vice president of some joint stock company. He's a tough guy, but he doesn't look after his kid properly. However, it's common to build a career and neglect your family. Finally, the woman decided to call. "Roger, this is Hannah. I'm worried about Dylan." "Hannah, I'm so glad. Dylan has been driving me crazy. He really wants to see you. I know it seems strange, but please meet him. He can't get over the trauma from the pit. Maybe your presence will calm him down. Please don't refuse. I'll pick you up wherever you say." "All right, in an hour. I'll text you the address." Roger's house smelled of freshness, flowers, and pies. Dylan, on crutches, skipped briskly around the house, chattering nonstop, not at all like a child tormented by worries. He was genuinely delighted to see Hannah. "Dad, Hannah helped me up the stairs and I was so scared. I was afraid to fall again. She's brave." Hannah had imagined the nanny Vera as a young girl, but she turned out to be a woman in her 50s, short, chubby and cozy. The aroma of her pies filled the house. Dinner was delicious, but Dylan's mother was absent from the table. Hannah didn't inquire. It wasn't her business. "Hannah, when I get my cast off, Daddy and I are going boating. Will you join us?" "I think the young man has a crush on you," Roger chimed in. "Don't say no. It's beautiful there." Hannah felt flustered. She had never been in such a luxurious home, and it had been a long time since she had experienced such genuine interest in herself by a man. Dylan stayed by her side, regaling her with stories about school, friends, and hobbies. Roger smiled, trying not to interfere. When Roger drove Hannah home, he suddenly pulled over and said, "Thank you. I haven't seen Dylan this happy in a long time. Probably since his mother left." "Roger, I saw a picture of your wife in Dylan's room." "Where is she?" "I'm sorry, of course it's none of my business. I'll tell you, but I have a condition. First, we're going for coffee in that cafe over there." Roger hadn't married out of passion but for love. His wife was a pure, sincere girl, affectionate and sweet from a modest background. Roger enjoyed spoiling her with gifts and trips abroad. Perhaps this played a cruel role, as she came to believe everyone owed her, simply because she was so beautiful. When Dylan was 3, Roger came home to find a note. "I've left. Don't look for me. I know you'll raise Dylan. I'm not coming back. I have a new life." During the divorce proceedings, Roger learned she was living in Paris, with whom he didn't care to know. She had abandoned them. The child never received a call, though he cried and waited for his mother. Roger worked tirelessly, trying to be there for his son, but time was always lacking. Vera became a mother, grandmother, and savior for little Dylan. She was like the guardian angel of his small family. A year ago, Roger thought he had found a woman who could make him happy. He harbored no illusions, knowing Gloria was more interested in his status and position than in him personally, which suited him fine. He felt no burning passion. Gloria was beautiful, intelligent, and fit the role of a vice president's girlfriend. She treated Dylan well, perhaps not too warmly, but with understanding. However, Dylan couldn't stand Gloria. He refused to eat if she sat at the table. When she arrived, he'd lock himself in his room. He answered monosyllabically, smiled forcibly, and made it clear he was unhappy with her presence. Roger assumed his son was jealous, believing time would sort things out. Gloria thought the same, assuring Roger she'd do everything to win Dylan over. One day, Gloria and Dylan were home alone. Roger was at work and Vera had gone to the market. Gloria burst into Dylan's room, her dress covered in paint. "Did you do this?" "I didn't mean to." "Stop lying. You're always trying to sabotage me, you little brat. I'll get rid of you. Your father will send you to boarding school. I'll make sure of it. Your mother abandoned you, and she was right to do so." Suddenly, the door opened and Roger entered. "Get out. Honey, get out." Roger was astounded at how he could have gotten involved with such a deceitful, cruel woman. He'd been fooled by her beauty and feigned intelligence. After that, Roger made no further attempts to arrange his personal life. His son's of mind was far more valuable. "That's my life, Hannah. You know, I thought after Gloria, Dylan wouldn't accept any woman in the house. But today he's been buzzing around you like a bee." Gradually, Roger and Dylan became part of Hannah's life. Their meetings were infrequent, but there was a warm, pleasant feeling of having people close to her. Though not quite friends yet, it was heading in that direction. When Dylan's cast was removed, the long-awaited boat ride took place. The lake was truly beautiful. After boating and ice cream, Dylan begged to visit the amusement park. While Dylan tried every ride in succession, seemingly immune to dizziness, Hannah and Roger strolled through the park's alleys. "Hannah, my father's anniversary is next week. I'm asking you to come with me. I know it's an odd request. Let me explain, and then you can decide." Roger's father, Mr. Bertrand, was a prominent figure, the owner of several machine-building factories in the region and beyond. He had recently opened a branch in his hometown, appointing 2 promising managers, his son Roger and his son-in-law Alex. The young men vied for Mr. Bertrand's trust, their views on business development radically different. Each tried to prove his project more promising, but Alex had a significant advantage. He was in a long, stable marriage to Roger's sister. For Mr. Bertrand, a strong family was synonymous with stability. Roger had married poorly, his wife dumped him, and he never managed to organize his personal life. He reasoned that if a man couldn't put his own life in order, he could hardly run a factory. When Gloria had just entered Roger's life in an attempt to improve his reputation, he had told his father he was going to marry. Though he and Gloria had long since parted ways, Mr. Bertrand now demanded that Roger finally present his chosen one. "I want to see who my grandson will live with." Roger couldn't attend the anniversary alone, partly for career reasons, but mostly out of fear of disappointing his father. Mr. Bertrand was enthusiastic about the idea of his unhappy son finally having a family. He himself loved his wife dearly. She had died long ago, yet he never remarried and continued to wear his wedding ring. "Hannah, please pretend to be my girlfriend. Just for 2 days. My father will stop lecturing me about the benefits of family life and worrying about Dylan's future. He'll see I can be trusted, finally approve my project, which is far better than Alex's. I know it sounds absurd, but please help me." "No, Roger, it's ridiculous. How will you explain later when the bride disappears?" "I'll figure that out later. If I come alone now, my father will be crushed. He'll think I've let him down and I'm worthless. You don't have to do much. Just visit for 2 days. You'll have a good time there. I can imagine the good time." "No, Roger, it's an utterly stupid idea. Think about it. There's still time." Hannah considered she'd gladly accompany Roger on a visit, even to his father's house, but to play the bride, to pretend, to deceive, that was impossible. However, she wanted to help Roger so badly to confirm her doubts, or perhaps dispel them. She called Chelsea. As usual, Chelsea had her own take. "You must go." "Why? Something might happen there." "What could happen? What are you suggesting?" "Oh, please, it's obvious. You're adults. Why pretend? You can be friends with Dylan, but not with Roger." "Hannah, don't be foolish. It's a great opportunity. You have to go." "Well, thank you, dear. You know, your help has only increased my doubts." On Friday, Roger called. "Hannah, what have you decided?" Dylan's voice came through the phone. "Daddy, give me the phone." "Hannah, will you come with us?" "Daddy's really upset. Please be his fiancée. At least imaginary." Hannah relented. "All right, I'll do it." Mr. Bertrand's country house was impressive, a bright, enormous palace rather than a mere house. A maid greeted them at the entrance. "Good evening. You're expected in the parlor. I'll take your belongings to your rooms." Hannah was surprised by the empty house. "Where are the guests?" It turned out the celebration was tomorrow. Today was a quiet family dinner with only the father, sister Lindsay, and her husband Alex. Roger with Hannah and the children. "Hannah, Dad didn't ask me much about my bride or where she works, but I told him you write poems and play tennis." "Great. If I recite something terrible, they'll just think I'm an untalented, aspiring poet. But tennis is worse. I've never held a racket, so try not to arrange any tennis matches here. You must have a court here, right?" At the head of a large oval table sat a tall, gray-haired man, Mr. Bertrand. On one side sat a woman with a thin, nervous face, Lindsay, and a man with a hunted, tense look, Alex. A teenage girl and a boy of about 10 completed the group. The other half of the table was empty, presumably for Roger and his family. Hannah felt uneasy. The atmosphere was overly formal, like a scene with a magnanimous landlord and his servants. Mr. Bertrand stood and approached Roger, Hannah, and Dylan as they lingered in the doorway. "Hello, Roger. I'm delighted you finally brought your bride. What's your name?" "Hannah." "Hannah, meet my daughter Lindsay's family, and welcome to our family." Lindsay grimaced, thinking, just like that? Into our family? Alex wasn't welcomed so warmly. She is a simple girl, probably after rich suitors. It turns out that's a piece of cake to get Roger. He must have chosen to marry her out of spite to steal the project from my husband. But we'll fight it. Dinner proceeded with the highest standards, featuring multiple courses and wines. Lindsay constantly ensured the children behaved properly, frequently scolding and correcting them. No one disciplined Dylan. He ate whatever he wanted, particularly enjoying the cake. Lindsay's son ate a piece and reached for another. "Paul, that's enough." Paul fearfully glanced at his mother and withdrew his hand. Dylan looked slyly at Hannah. "Hannah, may I have another piece?" "Of course, let me serve you." It seemed Dylan didn't like Lindsay's children too much. There was certainly no sense of kinship. Mr. Bertrand watched the family walls with a grin. He was amused by Lindsay's desire to show the importance of her untalented husband by any means, and saddened by Roger's inability to insist on his own. It had long been clear for him that Roger's project was superior, and now the father was happy that Roger would finally marry, and Dylan seemed to like his father's choice. I think the children can go play now, and we'll talk more. You know how much effort it took to build my business. I don't want it all to crumble after I've gone. This project is a test of independence for Alex and Roger. Alex, you struggle with decision-making. Lindsay dictates your every move. Daughter, you should stop upbringing him. He's an adult. As for you, Roger, according to the latest report, the rolling department is stalling. Dad, we've already delivered new equipment there. We just need to adjust it. What are you going to adjust? You can't adjust your life. I'm sorry, Hannah. I don't mean you. Hannah was slightly shocked. What the hell is this? Not a dinner at all. Is it a meeting of irreconcilable relatives or an industrial meetup? An interesting family. Mr. Bertrand is tough and straightforward. Roger is soft and non-confrontational. Lindsay is a lover of intrigue, and she didn't like me at all. She'll probably arrange some small mischief. Well, I just need to hold out for the night and day. And then was another surprise. Hannah and Roger were put in the same bedroom rather than separating the bride and groom in different bedrooms. How are we going to sleep? Hannah asked. I didn't think. I'm not ready for a wedding night. The man grinned. Oh, really? I've been dreaming about it. That's why I came, Hannah replied in the same joking manner. Okay, don't be mad. You take the bed. I'll sleep right here on the chair. You won't fit. I'll curl up. Turn around, I'll change. Hannah opened the closet door and, hidden behind it, bumping elbows and knees, changed her clothes and ducked under the blanket. That's it. Turn off the light, please. Strangely, she fell asleep almost immediately, probably due to too many impressions. In the morning, when Hannah lifted her head from the pillow, she saw Roger on the floor on a blanket. Ah, so the armchair was too small after all. Roger, get up. There will be many guests today. I'm afraid I'll say something wrong. You can say whatever you want as long as my father believes in our story. How will you explain yourself later? That we had a fight? Didn't agree on character? And if Mr. Bertrand finds out that I'm not a real bride, what will happen to you? He'll never be able to trust you again. Suddenly a rustle was heard behind the door. It opened and Paul peeped in. Uncle Roger, Mum asked me to tell you that breakfast is in 15 minutes. The door slammed shut as quickly as it opened, so Lindsay sent her son. He must have heard our conversation and seen the bed on the floor. I wonder if they'll feed us breakfast or throw us out of the house right now. Hannah and Roger went down the stairs, and at the bottom stood Mr. Bertrand. Everyone to my office, and called Dylan. In the office, everyone stood in a row, and Mr. Bertrand asked, Lindsay, what did you want to say? Dad, they're lying to you. Hannah isn't a fiancée at all, just a fake girlfriend. Roger invented all this to promote his project. You don't trust Alex, and these con artists are fooling you. They're not even sleeping together. How do you know? Did you hold a candle over them? Lindsay, Roger is your brother. Why are you burying him like this? You think I'll kick him out and make your sycophant the director? You don't know me well enough if you think I mix personal and business affairs. We'll find out who Hannah really is. Dad, I won't let you hurt Hannah. Roger, shut up. Dylan, tell me, who is Hannah? No one yet, but Dad gave her a ring and said they'll get married soon. Are you happy? Of course, I love Hannah very much. I want her to live with us. That's it. The conflict is over. Get ready to welcome the guests. Remember, it's my anniversary today. Hannah, in a simple dress, felt out of place among the ladies in evening clothes. Her nervousness was heightened by Lindsay, who kept glaring at her all evening. In the middle of the evening, when Mr. Bertrand was warm from congratulations and drinks, Lindsay whispered, Dad, since they are getting married, can we arrange a surprise? Let's take care of the wedding ourselves. Finally, a sensible suggestion. He took a glass of champagne and turned to the guests. Gentlemen, I have a toast. My son Roger is getting married. The guests clapped enthusiastically, reaching out to Roger with congratulations. Mr. Bertrand continued, I'll take care of the wedding. Roger jerked to say something, but his father wouldn't let him. Don't mind, I've made up my mind. Hey, lovebirds, I've got you now. How will you get out of this? Thought Lindsay, looking at Roger and Hannah with a fake smile. Meanwhile, Hannah whispered into Roger's ear, What the hell wedding? I'll think of something. What will you think of, you thinker? Let's tell them right now. It'll only get worse. Hannah, don't do it in front of everyone. We'll leave now and that's it. It won't concern you anymore. I'll take care of it myself. I created this mess. I'll sort it out myself. They drove in silence. What was there to talk about? Hannah thought that this idea was nonsense from the beginning. How could I agree? Thank you, Chelsea. Now I'll lose Roger and Dylan. I won't be able to communicate with them as before. As for Roger, he thought the best way out was to stop pretending and get married. We can do it without a celebration. Just get married. All I need is Hannah around. It's a pity Hannah couldn't hear his thoughts. Dylan didn't think about anything. He slept. After that tumultuous day, Hannah had to somehow come to her senses. Filming, texts, test screenings, nothing helped. Hannah couldn't get the ambiguous situation she'd gotten herself into out of her head. She wanted to call Roger, but it felt awkward. There was some reticence and shyness between them now. I knew it. The friendship is over. A few days later, in the evening, as Hannah tried to concentrate on writing but couldn't, the doorbell rang. A tall, pretty blonde stood on the threshold. Hannah, I need to talk to you. I'm Carla. Hannah was surprised but let her into the apartment. Hannah, I understand you're offended. Kurt left. You realize he's not coming back. Give him a divorce. We have a son. I don't understand anything. We've been divorced for a month now. So he didn't tell you? Maybe he decided to keep you as a backup wife. Carla, you may not believe me now, but chase that lying jerk out of your life. We both wasted years on a worthless man. I don't know about you. You must have known about me. Use your head. He won't change. Let him go. I beg you. What the hell? Hannah opened the drawer, grabbed the divorce document, and shoved it under Carla's nose. Look, here's the divorce stamp. Carla stared at it with wild eyes. Carla, come to your senses. I know you love him. I loved him too. I couldn't imagine sharing him with another woman. Get rid of him. He'll be married and you'll wait, forever remaining the second wife, the backup. It's harsh but true. As soon as you kick him out, a worthy man will appear. I know from experience. Carla stood up and quietly wandered towards the exit. At the threshold, she turned around, tears in her eyes. Thank you. And forgive me. Well, here's more proof that I did the right thing. Kurt won't change. To hell with it. Roger doesn't call. That's the problem. Should I call him myself? No, the role of a fake bride has been played. Let him call me himself. Of course, she missed Roger and Dylan. Hannah was used to having them in her life, and it seemed that they would be. It even seemed to her that some special relationship was forming with Roger. But apparently it didn't happen. Well, and all right. There is work. There is Chelsea. I'll live. Roger didn't call. He came in person. Hannah, I told Dad everything. How you saved Dylan. How I persuaded you to play the role of a bride. He got angry, of course. Not at you, but at me. And Lindsay. At Lindsay for her spite and scheming. At me for my stupidity and indecision. Mr. Bertrand, a man with a keen eye and a shrewd mind, qualities essential for running a business, immediately saw through Roger and Hannah's game. He realized Roger had brought not just a bride, but a woman he genuinely liked. He was amused by their attempts to maintain the charade without making mistakes. He appreciated Hannah's attitude towards Dylan, and when Dylan stood up to defend Hannah, Pavel knew his son had finally made the right choice. When Roger revealed the truth, his father told him he'd be a fool not to marry Hannah. To know if a girl wants to get married, you should at least ask her. You seem sensible, yet you can't see the obvious. I'm sure if you propose, she won't refuse. Pull yourself together. Why are you such a mumbler? Don't be afraid to take action. After talking to his father, Roger decided not to call, but to propose in person. He was exhausted, realizing he couldn't live without Hannah. Dad, without waiting for your answer, is already organizing the wedding. He's sure you'll agree. But I'm not so sure. I've never said I love you, never asked if you love me. Hannah, I love you. Will you become my wife? Hannah smiled softly and said yes,